Aruna, welcome to Stories in AI, and thank you for joining us from Adelaide or Australia, right?
Australia, Sydney. I'm currently in Sydney.
Sydney, Australia. How are you today?
Not too bad, Ganesh. Thanks for inviting me to your show. And hello to your audience. I must say I've been watching a lot of your videos. A lot of different people from different expertise and technology and industry. I've been learning a lot. So you're doing a great job. Continue to do so and give us a platform to share our views. So great. Thank you.
Thank you, Aruna. No, I really appreciate your kind words, and it's people like you who are sharing your knowledge, experience, and expertise to the broader audience. I'm just the medium who's parlaying that information. So thanks again for jumping on. Why don't we kick us off with your personal journey? What is your personal story? Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah, sure. Yes, in terms of my background, I'm from India, Chennai, South India. So did all my schoolings and finished my MBA. Then migrated to Australia, and that's where I started my computer science course. I did my post graduation in computer science. Then after finishing, I got an opportunity to work as a graduate recruitment in for SAS, which is a global analytics consulting company. So that's where I started. Yeah, great foundation with the tools and technologies. I've delivered many data analytics projects for them, decision support systems covering fraud, anti-money laundering, terrorist financing, credit risk, all compliance, regulatory related projects. And then I got an opportunity to work for Westpac, where they were looking at streamlining their financial crimes platform. So it was a greenfield project. Gave me a good opportunity because I had to set up the people, process, and technology side. So it was a great experience. I had to understand the current state, identify what the future state is going to be, and come up with initiatives. What talent and team we need, how do we need to set up. So it was a great end-to-end experience, and also it moved me from being a technical lead person to more of a management role. So that's the first step. Then I got an opportunity to work for Commonwealth Bank of Australia, one of the biggest bank in here, into a senior executive leadership role. So initially hesitant, but I got a great support, great boss, a good mentor. She was great. So I this gave me an opportunity into more on the overall strategy, data analytics, and a bit on the governance side, data governance side, and started looking, exploring. Big data was getting popular, AI and data science. We were hearing noises about all of that. So I was doing my research around the topics. Then I got an opportunity again with Westpac. They reached out to me to manage their credit risk analytics systems. Again, it's a different space, still in regulatory. So it was a great experience for me to get knowledge around the credit risk space. And also, I was part leading the analytics transformation program, which is looking at end-to-end transformation, starting with infrastructure, moving to cloud, visualization, agile delivery, DevOps, all of that end-to-end. So that was a great experience for me there. And I also started. Now I started realizing that AI and data science is going to be the next big thing. There's a lot of emerging technologies which is going to transform business. So I wanted to be part of this exciting journey. So I enrolled myself into Master of Data Science. Initially, a bit of doubt. It's a 2-year commitment, full-time job, 3 kids, and can I do it? But my passion drove it. It wasn't easy, I must say. Late nights,
I
assessments,
can imagine.
projects, all of that stuff. But I think if you love something you want to do, you will figure out a way. Is what I found out. So I did it, completed it with good credits, and so that's how I've got into more technical data science. And then HCL reached out to me. This time they are looking at setting up a data science team, look for the Asia Pacific region, and I thought it's a great opportunity to implement all I learned and all my experiences, 22 plus years in this industry. that's how it's all started, and that's where I am, still going. Hopefully good.
Wow. No, it's amazing. What an accomplished journey, and a couple of things stand out, right? The notion of passion, and your passion definitely comes through. Your passion for technology, your passion for AI, and your passion for empowering women in in technical roles in STEM and things like that. So definitely, and you're very accomplished, and you're being very humble with your background. But you just got awarded the most one of the most admired global Indians 2021 by Passion Vista, the AI Changemaker by the 3AI community, and so forth. So, really, really glad to be on this, this show, having you on the show, and thanks for sharing the journey. Now, let's talk AI, right? And data and AI. And one of the things that AI has been around forever, right? For 60 plus years, and ever since the Dartmouth conference and so forth. Why now? And why is it relevant for everybody and every businesses right now?
Yes, you're right. AI has been there for many, many years, right? Now we are seeing a lot of talk about it, and I personally feel is because of the confluence of three major forces: the data, the storage, and the processing power, right? So now we have lots and lots of data, data from dark data and all that. We have all this data to be used and drive insights from. Next thing we have is we also have the compute power to be able to grant all this data. We did not have this before. Now that's helped us. And also now storage, we now have storage is not becoming a problem. Before, I used to, when I was managing the systems, I need to think about storage cost, how long it'll take for the storage to come through. Now it's all, you can store as much as you want. So all of this has enabled AI to to become big as it is right now. I see analogy of a Ferrari, right? You have a Ferrari, but you don't have the infrastructure, the road, and things to actually for you to make the optimal
Sure.
use of the car. Now we have everything,
Use that, right.
and so that's where I think where we have taken AI. It's like all the stars have aligned for the right time for the AI revolution to happen.
No, got it. Makes total sense. I think the time of AI is now, and like you said, like the democratization of algorithms and research also helped a lot. Cost of computing has gone down. Storage, as you mentioned, computing power, and then the data, like you said, right? I mean, like I think they always say that, right? The last 2 years generated more data than the
Yep.
entire human history put together, right? So
Yes.
it kind of is the culmination of everything, and it's pretty fascinating. And one of the things I noticed, and for all the everybody listening or watching this, go to arunapattam.com, and you have a very fascinating series, a video series on a YouTube channel that goes with it, that talks about, like, and you break down these complex concepts through animated videos. Can you talk about why you started that initiative, and what was the purpose behind it, and how is that going?
Thanks. It's an interesting question. In fact, there was a bit of a background for that. So initially, when I was, going into the AI journey myself, having taking into account I'm been in the data analytics space for a long time, so this should not be, too big of a shock for me. But still, for me, there's a lot of technical jargons. They talk about deep learning, neural networks, and machine learning, supervised learning, all of this stuff. I thought, you know for person like me, I'm trying to initially struggling to learn what about, because to me AI is for everyone. It's going to touch everyone's life, and no matter whether you're technical or a business person, you need to know AI. And there was a little fear, like it's too complex, it's too technical. I wanted to sort of demystify that and make it look simple so everyone can understand it. And also reiterate to myself that I also understand the concept in a more simplified way. So what happened was I did a short term course on AI strategy, and as part of that 8 week program, we have to create a video. And yeah, at that time, for the organization I was working on, I like doing some design aspects, so I was doing data literacy videos for them. Importance of data, why we need it, and all that stuff. And when this they said we need to do an assessment and do a video, I thought, okay, I will use the video animation that I do on AI. And it was a 3 minute video to simplify AI concept. So I did that, presented, And I was overwhelmed with the support and the response I got. We had about 300 plus students, even including the lecturer. They never expected this, and it helped to understand. That's when I realized that there is an audience out there, and they like this mode of presenting, which is more engaging. So I thought, okay, I should do something about it. So I started creating knowledge nuggets, on topics of AI, types of AI, AI maturity model, AI in banking. There's various, two areas I like to focus. One around simplifying and making it known for everyone. The other one, applications of AI, how it is applied to banking and utilities and retail and all of the stuff. Only 3 to 5 minutes, quick snapshot. So that's how I started creating videos. And which one was the most popular video that people liked? Any guesses?
Maybe what is AI?
I thought so, but it's actually history of AI. And in fact, when I wanted to do that video, I was thinking twice, is somebody really interested in history of AI? But I did it anyway, just to complete it, like, what is AI and how does it come through. And that's been so far my biggest viewership there. So you sometimes the audience surprise you with what they look for, right? So that's how I started my journey. And
They
then,
always do.
yeah, and then I moved from, okay, I started sharing more. I think I got a bit bolder now, confident. So I did blog articles. I started speaking in events, all of that stuff. Now I'm doing more and more things outside of work, and I needed a repository to keep everything. It was everywhere, right? If somebody asks for me, I have to give links everywhere. So that made me to do a website where I put everything that I do in one repository so people can refer to. So that's how the journey became. And I think I like this journey, because often you work for an organization, you contribute, but you need to give back to the community as well. Of all, for 20 plus years I've been in this space, and that gives me more satisfaction, and that there's something
Yep.
I'm able to give back to the society. So that's how it all started.
That is amazing. There's a few things that I want to call out. First off, amazing, amazing job on pulling that together. I know it's not easy. It takes time, takes creativity, takes commitment. So amazing job pulling it together. But I think there's a few things that, I strongly feel passionate about. And that's also one of the founding reasons why we founded this show and Stories in AI as a podcast as well as a video show. So, one is the fact that most of the narratives on very critical frontier technologies like AI is written by mainstream media. And the reality is, we don't want Hollywood to write the narrative on what AI is, which is what everybody thinks of AI. They think of Terminator, they think of the
Yeah,
big red button and Ex Machina and so forth, right? So, being technologists, being in the space, knowing this deep enough, I think we all have a responsibility to get that word out and not be reliant on centralized structures in media
yeah,
houses, if you will. That's number one. So glad you're doing it. Second, I think it also provides an opportunity to, and this is not my thought, I didn't think of it earlier, but somebody pointed it out to me. But what we're all doing by creating this digital footprints
yeah,
or breadcrumbs of this thing, we are chronicling history, right? We're actually talking about and composing these elements of stuff where in this time in history in 2022 in January, these are some of the conversations that made the most sense. And these are some of the conversations that, some of these leaders were talking about, right? So I think there is a very subtle side of that where, like I'm a huge believer in decentralization being the future. Of course, historically, you go back centralized, decentralized,
yeah,
centralized,
yeah,
decentralized. But in general, people, organization, collaboration, and so forth. And all of these efforts that each of us do as our grassroots efforts that really support and prop up the community, and like you said, giving back. This is all about giving back. Like, my Stories in AI was founded because I was having all this great conversation with people like you, and I was chatting with my friends, and they were like, man, that sounded like you had an amazing conversation. I would love to have been in the room with you. And we're
yeah,
like, here you go. Every conversation I have like this, you're going
yeah,
to be in the room with me with
yeah,
Stories in AI. So thanks so much for
yeah,
sharing that. Aruna, I don't know, one of the things that really, and you and I have actually exchanged notes about it and talked about it in the past is your deep experience in financial services, right? Insurance, banking, insurtech, fintech, and so forth. And AI is playing a very, very profound and powerful role there. It's
Yeah.
transforming the industry, right? I used to, 5, 6 years ago, when I was working for one of the companies, and I used to actually just pitch this whole thing about, I had a slide that we talk about, like, you take a bank and you disaggregate every single function of the bank and make it a separate entity or a company, right? Which is what is happening to banking right now, right? And AI provides a fabric for you to deliver better services, engage better, reduce costs, be more efficient, and so forth, right? So talk to me a little bit about some of the use cases you see for the application of data products and AI within the financial services
Yeah, yeah,
organizations.
sure. I mean, always love talking about financial services. I think spend quite a lot of time in that space. So I think there's a lot of applications in AI in every team and every business unit, right? So one of the biggest applications I can see in the process optimization, right? So one of the big thing for banks is there are a lot of process that goes through, like claims. You need to have a lot of process, paperwork, people going from the one place to another place before it gets approved, and similarly mortgage processing. Now with KYC needs, a lot of processing, a lot of shaking hands between various teams to do very lot of manual work, time consuming, expensive as well. So AI has done a really, really great job in that space. In fact, it has cut down 70% of the cost by being automating. For example, if you take claims processing, now AI can, using chatbots, you could ask the customer to put all the records in there, and you could directly compare it against the system data that you have in your system. And if it is a very simple, straightforward, just approve it automatically. You don't need any middle person looking at it. And if it's very complex, then you can have a claims officer analyzing and scrutinizing that. So that is one application where you can, at least, claims officer only looks at complex ones. Customers are able to get the claims quicker if it is very simple. The other one is mortgage, right? As I mentioned, you're using computer vision, to digitize all the documents. Then you can use natural language processing, again computer vision, to categorize these documents. And then the other big thing the loan officer does is compare your application form with all the forms you've given, make sure they're all aligned, they're correct. And now you can have AI to actually automatically compare between what you said and what you've given, and see, that's a huge task for the loan officer. So that all can be automated. So in fact, these days, hyper automation is companies are looking at hyper automation, which is remote process optimization. You add AI on top of it and ML on top of it, and just revolutionize the process industry to the next level. So that's
Yep.
where I see where AI has been really, really good. The other one is, of course, fraud. I've been in the fraud space for quite some time, right? So traditionally, we use rule-based algorithms to detect fraudulent activities and then stop them. And now banks are all moving digital. And more digital means you're also having smarter fraudsters out there trying to come in and make advantage of the situation. Now, we are using AI and ML technologies, which looks at thousands. We have write thousands of data points there to figure out what is the behavior of the customers, what is the normal behavior as opposed to this anomaly, and then try to look for those patterns, and detect and prevent fraud. So and it's been more economical, effective, and real time. So that's been a great assistance for fraud space. Even in credit risk space, right? When you're giving determining credit worthiness, whether I want to give a loan to a person, or traditionally you ask for all the documents, give me the pay slip, I want your account history, transaction history, and then you figure out whether you want to give a loan or not. Now, there are certain sections of the society, people who migrated recently to a country, or young people who are getting into the workforce, they don't have all this history to give, and it's very hard for them. And now, using AI and ML technologies, you could actually look at their digital footprint, their geolocation, and their behavior, and you can create a profile of those customers, and then make a judgment, right? And in that way you're expanding the service to all sections of the society and still be able to keep the risk minimal. So I mean, I keep on going. There's multiple applications of AI in the financial space, and it's just growing. I mean, AI and data science, they're evolving every day. You come up with new use cases, and that use cases not only for finance, it can be used elsewhere as well. It just, you need to think a
Absolutely.
bit wider and say, okay, I've used this, now I can also use in this one.
No, it's actually interesting you say that, and financial services or any that matter, any of the industries too, right? A lot of the use cases you mentioned had a common theme, which is it deals with unstructured data, right?
Yeah,
And because which is like 85% of all business documentation is
yeah,
still,
exactly.
PDF files, and if not paper file, right? So there is it sounds mundane and very repetitive kind of thing, but it's a very important task of being able to make sense out of the unstructured world, because 90% of net new data created in the universe is unstructured data already, right? So it's fascinating. The other thing you called out, which was interesting to me, was the notion of hyper automation, right? How do you take a business process and completely make it a self-driving business process with ML, AI, RPA, rule-based systems and stuff, to really give an experience where the entire business process can be on autopilot,
Yeah.
right? So it's fascinating, and it's like fascinating times to be working in the financial services
Yeah,
industry for
and I
sure.
wanted to make
Um,
a note, right? So people say that AI is going to take over the jobs, right? If you look at this processing industry, there's a lot of jobs you're automating, but the thing is, you're actually you're moving from one work to a different type of work. It's, you're challenging yourself. That's humans are meant to be creative and challenge yourself and do exciting things rather than mundane repetitive tasks. So I keep saying that AI is not going to replace, it's going to augment the human workforce.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. I mean, it allows, if you really focus AI to automate most of the cognitive tasks that are often useless and meaningless,
Yeah,
then human beings are now freed up to actually find more meaning, more fulfillment in doing things that they really love, right? That
exactly.
really brings out the best in us, the higher order thinking, the challenging, and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. No, thanks for that. Let me ask you the flip side of the question in AI, right? What are the top challenges organizations are facing, not just in deploying AI, but more the I'm nudging you towards the other side of ethics and risk and
Yeah.
responsible AI, which I know you're very passionate about. So what are the top challenges in AI today, and what are organizations doing about it?
Yeah, so I mean, the first challenge I see is organizations' understanding of AI adoption itself. So I've seen, with my experience, like top management, some management is not still, got into the terms. They still think it's complex, it's too expensive, too time consuming, those sort of things. So we need education of the top management to understand the importance and the applications of AI and what benefit it can bring to the organization. Otherwise, you're going to be risking of going out of business, right? So that's how serious it is. So AI adoption, that's very important. Like, you need to figure out, where you are, where you want to go, where's my data maturity, where's my AI maturity. All of this knowledge about the top management and driving down the importance of that. That's one thing that we need. The other thing you alluded, which is my favorite topic, is bias in AI. Right, it's a big topic by itself, but I'll try to give a few key points. Right, one is the biggest challenge is the data itself. Right now, bias can happen. Algorithm, it learns through the data that you give, and if the data is biased, of course the outcomes is also going to be biased. Example, you have Amazon did the hiring tool, which we all know, with all the historical data, and we know, in tech industry, men's, or men are more, and their pay grades are more than females, all being equal, right? And if you pump in that data, it's going to keep predicting the same thing, and you're going to be amplifying it to many times, because humans can only do certain, damage by this, biased data, but systems can just automate this whole thing. and you take it to 100 folds,
Absolutely.
right? There is a real danger. So that is one big challenge I see. That's a data bias. There is algorithmic bias as well. The people who actually build those systems, they also have some biases, right? Again, if you are relying fully technical, again, I'm not trying to men and female, that's easy conversation to have, right? So if you have too many men
Sure, sure.
doing the algorithm building, then you don't have a different perspective. You need to have more women representation, right? They come up with different perspectives, different way of looking at things. And that is why you also need to look at diversity in the data that you have. Otherwise, you will be rejecting loans based on that. There was a good example. I forgot the Apple was the good example where they were giving credit card loans, and this person raised a complaint that he was given uh, 2 3 times more loan rather than his partner, whose credit rating was much better than him. So then they realized that the algorithm was biased towards the way the data was fed in and all that. So there is it can have serious consequences if you don't look at the bias aspect. The other one is even the developers, right? The machine learning algorithms, the way you collect the data, way you sample the data, the way you test your data, how it's been implemented. Bias can creep in at any stage, and we need to give education to all spectrums, that this is something serious that we need to have, and we need to have a risk based approach. So recommending a movie going wrong is fine, it's not right, but it's okay. But rejecting a loan for someone, or didn't predict a particular disease which was meant to be because diverse data did not have this particular race or ethnicity in the data, is going to be having serious repercussions. So we need to be really really mindful of that. That's the biggest next biggest one. Talent itself, I think, is a third big challenge which
It's a
the
big,
companies
it's a big problem.
are
Yeah.
facing, because I've seen companies, they've made these huge investments in infrastructure and technology, only to realize that they don't have the people to actually make
Pull it
value
off.
out of these, right? So that's another challenge. So there are again
Yep.
two skill sets, right? You have this technical skill is required to actually build those systems, but you also need business skills, who understands how to use AI in the business, and then know what can go wrong. So you
Context.
need
Yeah.
both skills, and you need training internally, and also you can go externally to seek out the consulting firms. They have the talent pool. There are many things. Explainable AI is a big thing. Being in the regulatory and compliance world, if you are using a model for credit risk management, and if you can't explain your model to your regulatory authority, they won't even approve it. Right now, when it comes to these algorithms, simple
Yep.
algorithms, you can easily explain them. But when it complex deep learning and those sort of complex algorithms, the accuracy good. The more data it give you, the accuracy is good. But why did it come up with a certain outcome? What were the factors influencing those outcome?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of research going on in coming up with explainable AI. Yeah, so
Causality and
those sort of things. And the last but not the least is the operationalization of models. MLOps framework is out there, which is helping to
yep.
productionize the models, because 80% of the models don't end up being production because of the data change, infrastructure challenges. You need regular monitoring. If the models can deteriorate in production. So all of these, I see, are the
Yep.
challenges that we need to be addressing.
That's awesome. If I were to summarize this, Aruna, like like I think I put it in buckets, right? One bucket is education, awareness, and comfort level, right? All the way from executives to business users, including the side of not just knowing what AI is, but knowing that this is not a technology to take your
Yeah.
jobs away. So what does that mean in terms of upskilling, reskilling, that kind of stuff? So that whole package there. The another bucket is the technical challenges around ML ops, being able to hire the right people to go build the right models, operationalizing experiments that you do in a smaller scale to a production scale, and so forth. Another third bucket is this whole bucket of responsible AI, right? How do you do it in a way that not only is fair, unbiased, and stuff, but also
Yes.
accountable, right? I mean, the system, you can't just blame the algorithm saying the algorithm made the decision. I'm not the one behind it. There is a human behind it. Somebody made decisions. How do you drive that level of accountability? As somebody said, I don't even know if somebody really said it, but I like to think of it like, you can't absolve your accountability by putting a veil of technology in front of you, right? Just because a technology is complex doesn't really allow you to absolve your responsibility or accountability in doing that. So that's the third bucket, I would say. And then the last thing is the kind of related to talent, but also being, understanding the processes, the business outcomes and stuff. How do you translate the technical work to business value, business outcome, and so forth? So fascinating. Now, you listed out a lot of problems. Now I want you to tell me, how do we solve it? What is your advice for organizations to, like, AI is like one of those, arc changing technologies that you have to really invest in, and you got to lean in for the long term. While the organizations are doing that, how should they think about operationalizing? What are the different pillars of that particular, what advice do you have for organizations wherever they are in their AI
Yeah,
journey?
so I think the first and foremost I would say is look at your AI maturity model, right? So that's the first step. Where is my data? What is my data maturity? Because without data, AI has got no place, right? So you need to make sure you have got. So you need to know where your data is. That will dictate what use cases you can do in AI and what you need to get. So data maturity. Then what is your AI maturity you want to get, right? Where I am now, where I want to go. So do a current state analysis, find out where you want to go, look at all the gaps that you have, and this is like that's the strategy. Then you look at the people aspect, right? What type of skill sets I need. You need to then go and make sure you got the right skill, either training or hiring, whichever way you want. That's the people side of things. Then the processes, you need to have streamlined processes, the standards and the governance, to the process aspect of it. The ethical aspect, which I talked about, right? The governance. How do you make sure that I've got the right governance in place? So that things that we talked about in terms of challenges. Do I have a centralized committee who is accountable, which has got representation from various teams? I've seen in organizations where they take people from business, technical, legal, ethical, put together, create a committee. You have a business problem that you want to, bring the idea to this forum, you discuss it. So from ideation phase to the implementation phase, you go to them, and so that you made sure you have checks and balances all done, right? So there is so people, process, technology, you need to make sure, look at all these different aspects, look at your maturity model, and then come up with simple use cases. Don't start off with complex use cases. Identify one which gives addresses a business problem and gives a return on investment, not for the sake of, I want to use AI, right? It needs to be able to solving a business problem. Take something small. And also I recommend use pre-existing pre-built AI solutions out there, just to test and become confident in that implementation. Once you see success, then you can move on into more complex implementations, and in small sizes, small initiatives, and then have a roadmap for a year or two to gradually up your maturity into AI. That's what I would say.
Got it. No, it's fascinating advice, right? I mean, just like think through, and good framework to think about across the entire spectrum: people, process, technology, building blocks, infrastructure. And then the approach of actually taking, start small, but fail fast, fail
Yes.
forward, and then scale from there, right? Prove it out. One thing I love about what you said was this notion that, look, knowledge, when AI is a multi domain problem, right? When you try to solve problems with machine learning, it's a multi-domain problem. You have business, you have statistics, you have business logic and rules coming in, you have data, you have algorithms, software engineering, DevOps, all these things. So the approach of actually bringing people from all the disciplines together that can capture their knowledge and then collaborate to go deliver projects, I think is the winning one. I mean, there is a lot of momentum in ML ops today But I fundamentally feel that a lot of the folks who take only an approach of, hey, I'm going to get a new ML ops tool set, are going to fail miserably, because it's beyond just
It's
tools. It's
people.
people, it's
Yeah.
process, it's
Yeah.
technology, right? So fascinating overview. Thank you for that. um, what is your current area of focus in AI? What are you spending a lot of time on?
Yeah, so there's two aspects I look at. The one is, being working for a consulting firm, right? You're looking at the applications of AI. In as I was mentioned earlier, the behind the technology behind the scene is the same. It's how you apply to different industry. You need to have a good understanding of the business as well. That's why I think very important. Yes, technology, you can go and build great technology solutions, but if you don't know how to apply it, which industry it can apply, which problem space it can be applied, what opportunities you can gain, that's the knowledge that we need to get to actually make it more scalable. And you so that's constantly I look for. You might do predict maintenance on utilities, and then you can look at how do I do a predictive maintenance on the manufacturing area. So there is on the mining industry, right? You're looking for customer behavior in the retail industry. Similar things goes into the credit loan, and those of this customer sentiments. You can use the same technology, understand the sentiments of different people from different. So it's how you need to have a good understanding of the technology and be able to apply it to the different business. That's what I constantly think. That's one area. Second area is AI is a very evolving field. Every month there's something new somebody has created. And being very active in LinkedIn, I can see a lot of exciting things people share, right? Cool. And take us. But then my mind always looks at, okay, this innovative emerging tool, how does it help me in applying to a business or a community or a society to solve a problem. So that's my constant thinking and research, and spend my time in that.
Got it. Got it. That's amazing. No, it's fascinating, and a lot of innovations to come more in that area. So looking forward to your contributions too. Now, I don't know, we're running out of time, but let me ask you a couple of very quick rapid fire questions. Right. One is AGI, artificial general intelligence. Do you worry about it? Do you think about it? Is that something that bothers you?
Not really. I know I always say that we need to embrace technology, but have a human element on it. That's very, very important, right? No matter what it is, if you have human in the front seat driving it and letting the technology do what you want to do, and also making a decision not to do something even though you think it is profitable. But if you think it has got a long term
Doing it responsibly.
responsibly risk based approach, then anything, if you have a control over your technology, then you get to do what you wanted to do. So that's what's been my philosophy.
Awesome. Awesome. Aruna, this was such a blast. One last question. What is a personal, share one personal power practice that you employ?
Okay, nothing big or great. I just do meditation a few minutes, every day when I do the
Very
puja.
nice.
As part of this, I do meditation just to clear my mind in the start of the day, and just go over my day. That's a simple 10-15 minutes spent on that. Nothing great, but helps me.
Very nice. Oh, awesome. Aruna, this is a blast. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences. Where can the viewers and listeners get in touch with you? Where can they find you
I
on the
mean,
internet?
I'm pretty much everywhere in the social media. LinkedIn by far is the biggest medium. My email is there, my website. You can go and have a look at what I do. You can connect me through email. But I'm there in Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere I'm there. I've got my footprints there, but LinkedIn is my main channel.
Awesome. 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 Thank you so much. And thanks for getting on the show and sharing your insights. It was a blast.
Thanks, Ganesh, and it was a very interesting interaction. I learned, some of the things you raised the questions and also some of the takeaways. It's been really great. Yeah, and yeah, thank you for inviting me, and keep doing
Thank
it.
you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for your
Thank you.
support.